finally been filled up, right? Seahawks offensive coordinator Klint Kubiak, of course, will coach in the Super Bowl, and then he's set to become the Raiders' new head coach after Super Bowl 60. That, according to our Adam Schefter. The Raiders will be Kubiak's sixth team in the last 6 seasons. This was his first and only season as Seattle's OC after filling that role for the Saints last season. He's also spent time with the Broncos, Vikings, and 49ers. Under Kubiak, Seattle was a top 10 offense in passing and rushing this season. We've sung his praises on this show, certainly. Mina, how well does Kubiak's system fit the personnel that the Raiders already have? And you got to think about that #1 pick in Fernando Mendoza, how he may factor in.
I think it's a phenomenal fit, especially for a young quarterback. Dan was just highlighting how Kubiak has done such a great job of giving Sam Darnold answers on some of those boosts that they run so heavily. And those are things that I think Mendoza, if they take him, can execute based on what I've seen from him. But I also like how it fits some of their other players. We literally just talked about Seattle and their 12 personnel. You know, his team with 2 pretty dang good tight ends, the Las Vegas Raiders. Yeah. I do think they still need to add a receiver, and the offensive line, to me, while they have some pieces that they can build on, you still got to add, especially if you're going to adopt more of that zone, outside zone run game. But I do think that the building blocks are there, and I love the pick when you have the young quarterback in mind in particular.
Can he develop a young quarterback? That's the question.
Yeah.
So this young, obviously Klint Kubiak is very good from an offensive football perspective. He has literally spent every breathing moment of his life in the NFL in some capacity because of his father, Gary Kubiak.
Yeah.
But the quarterbacks that he's been around, there is a ton of experience that those guys had before Klint Kubiak was with them. Kirk Cousins, Russell Wilson, Derek Carr, and Sam Darnold. The only caveat is the Brock Purdy one. And so how can he tap into that Brock Purdy experience and understanding and what helped him kind of take that immediate rise when he got into the field and transfer it to Fernando Mendoza? Different situations, different people, different teams, yes. I think that being a great offensive mind is very different than developing a young quarterback.
Yeah.
How well he does that will determine if he's a good coach.
And fascinating to see what they do with Max Crosby. Does he try to make sure that he repairs that, or that Max Crosby stays?
Trade Max Crosby.
You have said to trade Max Crosby.
To who?
See, I forget. Who did you say?
The Rams.
Oh, the Rams. Yeah. All right. Sorry, Dan, I forgot your imaginary thing that isn't happening. All right, still ahead. The Pro Bowl games kick off tonight. Best athletes, wild skills, plenty of personality. Stick around to hear what our crew is locked in on tonight. It's going to be a fun night for the NFL here in San Francisco. We'll be right back with more NFL Live after this. Let's have some swag. You probably didn't get enough credit for it.
Big flannel guy.
All right. Okay, he's been one of the best quarterbacks. This will give you swag. Throwing downfield this season, including the playoffs. He has the lowest off-target percentage and the second best completion percentage on throws of at least 20 yards this season. Okay, he will face a Patriots defense on Sunday that allowed a 29% completion rate on throws this season. On those throws, the 3rd lowest rate in the league. So stingy on that side. As we now welcome in Jeff Darlington, who's going to be covering the Seahawks for us all week long, and they're getting ready for Super Bowl 60. But Jeff, it was a decision that they made about a year ago at their team facility, thousands of miles away, that really propelled them to get to this point. Tell us more about that.
Well, Laura, this marks a sort of anniversary of sorts for wide receiver Cooper Kupp, thinking back to a year ago, exactly on this day, February 3rd, when he had posted to social media about the Rams' decision to seek a trade partner for Kupp. Now, Kupp had said at the time, I don't agree with the decision, and I always believed it was going to begin and end in L.A. Now, the Rams ultimately could not find a trade partner, and they released Kupp. And it was shortly after that Seahawks head coach Mike Macdonald recalls reaching out to Kupp about joining the Seahawks, a decision he recalled just a few moments ago.
You knew Cooper Kupp through his reputation. Jake Peets is on our staff. He's got a great relationship with Cooper. When it was first, we made it a point to, I think whenever the first time we were actually allowed to reach out to Coop, I had him on the line and just said, look, we don't get a lot of opportunities to really acquire a player like you. He's the term force multiplier. He's that with the receiver room. You can see it with the effect with a lot of our guys. That's rippled all the way throughout the whole team. Offense, defense, special teams, all 3 phases. He's helped me. And then to see him make plays in the championship game.
So literally about 10 minutes ago, I was asking Kupp about those comments, and I asked him to reflect on the year that has been, and he talked about what a challenge it was. He never really thought he was going to leave the Rams. He talked about what it was like to have to go to his family and to his kids and say, we're moving to a new place. And by the way, a place that we used to play twice a year as a member of the Rams. He said that ultimately he does feel rewarded. He feels vindicated by this step, but he said that's all going to be for another day to reflect upon. For right now, it's about potentially winning another Super Bowl, a Super Bowl which, by the way, he was the MVP of just 4 short years ago. Laura.
Yeah, I'm not sure people even remember that the way that they should, Jeff. Just great stuff from you. Cooper Kupp's been through a lot this season, as Jeff alluded to, and he takes the time to actually credit Sam Darnold's resiliency for inspiring him throughout some of his personal struggles this year. Dan, so much on Seattle's offense to get into. They've had success with 12 personnel this season. What will that look like, though, specifically against this Patriots defense?
I would be interested to see how New England handles it. Will they handle it by matching personnel or by being very down and distance centric? Because I think the challenge with Seattle's 12 personnel is they can do so much out of it. They can get easy completions, can run the football, they move those tight ends, they get that keeper game where they will run this 5 times a game, some version of this where Sam Darnold gets out on the perimeter. And again, going to his left makes this a little bit unique. There's that 12 personnel. Once again, Sam now in the pistol. It's the same concept essentially for a quarterback, 3 deep, mid, intermediate, and shallow. And then the ability to still line up underneath the center and take the shots down the field. This is one of the greatest offenses or best offenses in the league when it comes to, hey, 12 personnel, we want to take a shot down the field. And so when New England play with 3 linebackers on the field, will they keep it nickel? Will it be, hey, if it's 1st and 10, we want to play against the pass. If it's 2nd and 6, we want to put backers on the field to defend against the run. I just think how New England matches it from a personnel standpoint pre-snap is going to be fascinating.
I love that we're having this conversation now because you guys remember it's how we started the season, talking about 12 personnel. And Seattle, to me, is the case study for why you can be so explosive out of it. When they use it, and they use it at a pretty high level in terms of around the NFL, they have a 46% play action rate. That is more than 4 times how much they call play action out of 11 personnel. Woo. And when they throw play action out of 12 personnel, they average 13 yards of play. Wow. So it is how 13 yards of play, Dan. So it is how they access a lot of those explosives. Some of that is because they get defenses to put their base personnel, to your point about how they're matched. So we talked about at the beginning of the season, you put heavy bodies on the field. That's not just allowing them to throw on the linebackers with their tight ends. It also creates one-on-ones. They call so many deep crossing concepts off of those 12 personnel looks. So if you're in New England, you're thinking, okay, we're not going to put 3 linebackers on the field.
But then you're dead in the run game.
And then Seattle, 12 personnel, the run game on nickel, 58% success rate running out of those, which is really, really good. They're 2 tight ends. They're not huge names, Barner and Saubert.
Awesome.
They're all-around tight ends. They are passing threats when they're open, and they're good blockers. So it creates this personnel matching problem for New England that, candidly, I don't know how I would solve.
Yeah.
What age do you turn after 12?
13.
13. And that's been something that they've been super explosive out of as well. 2 weeks off. I got to think that they want to show that look. There is a significant amount of success that this team has when they're in 13. They don't do it a lot. But early in the season, I went back to the Houston game because that's the comparable defense to when you start talking about how New England would maybe try to play this by getting extended into the block. And you force this team, like y'all said, you either in base or you're in nickel. I'm sure you want to play 13 with base, and you still have the run game out of this. But this is those tight ends that you just mentioned, Mina, that can get to the 2nd and 3rd level and make plays. I think it creates 2 for Sam Darnold, easy, quick reads, because the defense in alignment in base as well. I brought this graphic because I thought it was super interesting going back and looking throughout the season. Week 1 through 7, it was 24 snaps
total
of 13 in total. Week 8 to the division round, only 9. It showed back up last week in the NFC Championship.
Tight end, that helps.
Exactly.
Yeah.
So I think a lot of it really boils down to now with New England and the addition of Arroyo, who we saw catch that pass, you also have to plan for that as well with the success that they've had in 12 personnel. And one thing that has been really good about Seattle offensively, they've dictated a lot of your personnel from a defensive standpoint all season long?
Well, I think the first thing is you have to play to your strengths as well. when you're a good defense, you play what you're best in. And if you watch this team, they've kept linebackers on the field and they've been able to play the pass and vice versa. But the problem for them is nobody dangles chunk plays out there like the New England Patriots.
Yeah.
And nobody hunts chunk plays like the Seattle Seahawks. To me, that's where this game is going to be won or lost. When you watch the playoffs, there were opportunities for teams, whether it's the Chargers, the Texans, or the Denver Broncos, to take shots over the top. They just couldn't connect outside of the one we watched Stidham hit to Marvin Mims. That is going to be the game for me. Christian Gonzalez and Carlton Davis and Marcus Jones have stood up the entire playoffs, but they haven't played a team, in my opinion, who can find chunk plays out of 12 personnel the way that the Seattle Seahawks can.
Really quick, I do think the return of Robert Spillane allows them to defend the run